Well, in what seems to be a continually recurring story, we have yet another case of somebody committing a crime, supposedly according to the cops, by filming the cops. They're allowed to film everything we do, and they do, not only in their squad car, but with cameras everywhere. But if we take a picture of them, that's a crime, especially if we do it in front of the cop. And this is what happened in Canada. We have a video here taken by this man's 17-year-old daughter. He winds up getting beat up, handcuffed, and arrested. And his crime, of course, is just photographing the police and doing that in front of the police. He had momentarily parked so his daughter could run in and get something. It was a very short period, evidently. And a cop came up and was giving him an $88 ticket. It annoyed him, I guess. He wanted to get information about the police because he was going to file a complaint on them. Now he has something to complain about. But we see this happening continually. And in spite of all these police brutalities, we never see anything being done to the police because, of course, they're being not only protected by the police unions, but they're being trained by the federal government, by the central governments. In this case, it's Canadian government, but certainly the federal government is training police everywhere in the United States to treat us as if we were criminals, to treat us with contempt. It's what we saw last week when we went to the JFK assassination commemoration in Dallas. We see the police there with nothing but contempt for both journalists and for citizens. It's something that has to change unless there's any kind of accountability. This is going to continue to get worse and worse. We see it happening more and more frequently. So when you see your peace officers beating people over parking violations and photographing their squad car, you have to ask yourself, did the 1993 movie Demolition Man kind of predict the dystopian society that we're now living in? Jakari Jackson has a report.
When we talk about the current state of our world, we often liken our existence to books like 1984, Brave New World, or films like They Live. But recently I was watching that old Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes film, The Demolition Man. And as far-fetched and sci-fi as it may have been at the time, it does ring a little true today. So let's take a moment and analyze this piece.
Don't you hear thought repeating in that brain of yours? The name Friendly, Edgar Friendly.
In short, Stallone and Snipes represent the most brutal aspects of both the police and criminals, respectively. After an incident leaves many innocent people dead, they're both placed into a cryogenic prison and awakened decades later into a complete nanny state.
Just cigarette, any cigarette.
Smoking is not good for you, and has been deemed that anything not good for you is bad, hence illegal. Alcohol, caffeine, contact sports, meat.
Are you me?
John Spartan, you are fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
See what I mean? And while I'm not an advocate of using coarse language, I'm definitely not a fan of being fined for it either. Especially when you consider speaking about your lunch, which very well could contain a brown bag and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, can be considered culturally insensitive if not downright racist. Also, the notion that anything the state deems to be bad for you is illegal, including contact sports and salty foods, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. In this clip, we see Wesley Snipes visiting a museum to acquire a real gun, the only place he can get one in his fictional timeline. And that rings true today, because there are people so uptight about gun ownership, they don't even want armed police officers to be able to pick up their own children from school. This clip shows the rather cavalier attitude some police officers have when using the supposed non-lethal taser. Recently here in Texas, a high school student was brain damaged when he dropped to the floor after being shot by a sheriff's taser for an incident he wasn't even involved in.
You got the salt over there, Bob?
Salt is not good for you, hence it is illegal.
No salt even at Taco Bell. Now, if that seems a little too ridiculous to you, remember New York Mayor Bloomberg, who has his campaign to protect you from salt, from soda, this socialist campaign to protect you from everything all the time, except for this, quote, mythical knockout game. And we'll end with this, a man who believes in the Constitution, so of course he has to be a dirty, underground sewer dweller.
Because I like to think. I like to read. I'm into freedom of speech and freedom of choice.
This fits right in with the narrative that liberty-loving, God-fearing, gun-owning Americans are the bane of the new society. Intentional or otherwise, Demolition Man is a semi-accurate parody of what's really going on in this country. I'm Jakari Jackson for the InfoWars Nightly News.
Well, that's it for tonight. And don't forget that you can help to support InfoWars Nightly News by buying a subscription to Prison Planet TV. You'll find all of Alex Jones's documentaries there, as well as archives of all of our news reports and special reports. And you can share that with up to 10 people simultaneously. That's Prison Planet TV. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.